concept of the atom that Western scientists accepted in broad outline from the 1600s until about 1900 originated with Greek philosophers in the 5th century BCE. Ancient Greek atomists developed a systematic and comprehensive natural philosophy, accounting for the origins of everything from the interaction of indivisible bodies. As these atoms, which have only a few intrinsic properties like size and shape, usually strike against one another, rebound, and interlock in an infinitive void. Greek atomism provided teleological explanation regarding every composite of atoms as produced purely by material interactions of bodies, and accounting for the perceived properties of macroscopic bodies and as produced by these same atomic interactions that are supported by experiment and mathematical deduction. So for the rest of the duration of our presentation, we are going to discuss to you and present one by one the following Greek founding fathers or Greek philosophers and their theory they proposed.
Thales of Miletus is considered the first philosopher by Aristotle and others. Thales' most important contribution was that he was the first person to describe natural phenomena without referring to mythological gods. He is the first person to investigate the basic principles, the question of the originating substances of matter, and to know why things behave the way they did. Therefore, he was the founder of the school of natural philosophy that all of nature developed from one source. He proposed theories to explain many of the events of nature, the primary substance, the support of the earth, and the cause of change. Thales came to this conclusion after observing that most things decompose into air, slime, and earth. He proposed that things change from one form to another. He noticed that water was essential in daily life and that most things were moist. Water was necessary for life, especially for things that live near water. He truly believed that water was the source of all life, and to explain earthquakes, he envisioned the earth floating on water and the waves of the water virtually rocked the boat, thus causing earthquakes.
Early Pre-Socratic philosopher Anaximenes lived in the Greek city of Miletus in Ionia from 585 to 525 BC, the Turkey of today. He was important to the Milesian school as Anaximander's companion and pupil. He continued the Milesian philosophers' inquiries into the arch of initial principle of the cosmos, which Anaximenes thought to be air. He made an effort to frame scientific defense of the cosmos. According to Anaximenes, the Earth is the largest that floats in the atmosphere. The same condensation and rarefaction processes were used to generate the sun and stars. He claimed that their flaming characteristics were just a result of the rapid rate of motion. He also used his theories to explain a number of natural occurrences, including rainbows, hail, and earthquakes, which are the results of earth cracking as it dries out after being moistened by rain. Hail is created when rainwater freezes.
Greek philosopher Heraclitus is most known for his cosmology and for his theory of fire as the fundamental material basis of a well-ordered universe. Heraclitus bore then the manifestations of fire to include not only fuel, flame, and smoke, but also the ether in the upper atmosphere, and claimed that the world is a ever-living fire kindling in measures and being extinguished in measures. As rain, some of that air or pure fire turns to the ocean, and some of the ocean turns to the soil. Equal amounts of earth and sea are simultaneously returning to the respective aspects of sea and fire everywhere. The dynamic equilibrium that results keep the world in a state of orderly balance. The modifications of basic bodies are described by Heraclitus as follows. The turnings of fire. First, sea, and the sea half is earth, half fibrous. It is liquefied as the sea and measured into the same proportion as it had before it became earth.
Pythagoras of Samos is often described as the first pure mathematician. Pythagoras forwarded a theory of four basic elements that guided Greek, Roman, and medieval thinking for years. His theory was that everything on Earth was made out of four elements of water, earth, air, and fire. These elements are also made up of human body. He saw these substances as interchangeable and mixed.
One of the earliest hypotheses to attempt to explain the world around us was put out by Empedocles, a Greek scientist and philosopher who lived on the southern coast of Sicily between 492 and 432 BCE. Fire, air, water, and soil, according to Empedocles, make up all matter. The ratio of these four components had an impact on the matter's characteristic. Stone was supposed to have a large proportion of earth, whereas a rabbit was thought to have a high ratio of both water and fire, making it soft and giving it life. In Empedocles' theory, one of the elements was one of the first to propose that some objects, such as stone, which appeared to be pure materials, were actually composed of a variety of elements. Despite these issues, his idea represented a significant advance in scientific thought. He gave these minuscule particles of substance the name atomos, which means invisible. His theory, which were influenced by the teachings of two Greek philosophers, were grounded in logic rather than science.
Democritus of Abdera, 460 to 370 BC. He named the building blocks of matter atomos, meaning literally indivisible, for about 430 BCE. Democritus believed that atoms were uniform, solid, hard, incompressible, and indestructible, and that they moved in infinite numbers through empty space until stopped. Differences in atomic shape and size determined the various properties of matter. In Democritus' philosophy, atoms existed not only for matter but also for such qualities as perception and the human soul. Democritus developed his atomic philosophy as a middle ground between two opposing Greek theories about reality and the illusion of change. He argued that matter was subdivided into indivisible and immutable particles that created the appearance of change when they joined and separated from others.
The philosopher Epicurus of Samos, 341 to 270 BCE, used Democritus' ideas to try to quiet the fear of superstitious Greeks. According to Epicurus' materialistic philosophy, the entire universe was composed exclusively of atoms and void, and so even the gods were subject to natural laws. Most of what is known about the atomic philosophy of the early Greeks comes from Aristotle's attacks on it and from a long poem, De Rerum Natura, on the nature of things, which Latin poem and philosopher Titus Lucretius Carus, 95 to 55 BCE, wrote to popularize its ideas. The Greek atomic theory is significant historically and philosophically, but it has no scientific value. It was not based on observations of nature, measurements, tests, or experiments.
Leucippus was a pre-Socratic Greek philosopher who lived around Miletus and Elea. His earliest writings were on nature. The idea that everything can move, including the sun and earth, is known as a motion-based view of the universe. The Greek philosopher Leucippus, 460 BC and 425 BC, was one of the first people to propose this idea. He believed that atoms were the smallest things making up all other things in nature. The only thing bigger than atoms was void, which consisted of nothing but infinite space with no edges or corners. Then if you cut out some of materials from this void, there would still be empty spaces left over. This idea led to the formation of what is today called atomism.
Aristotle, 384-322 BCE, was a 4th century BC Greek philosopher who did not believe in the atomic theory, and he thought so otherwise. He thought that all materials on Earth were not made of atoms, but of the four elements earth, fire, water, and air. He believed all substances were made of small amounts of these four elements of matter. The elements described by Aristotle are all equally important. They can even be changed into one another. According to Aristotle, fire, air, water, and earth may all be changed into another by changing a single quality in each situation. It is a transformational cycle. The cycle, however, can start with any of the four elements and progress either in the direction depicted or in the opposite direction. The elements have also been chosen in their natural consecutive series, according to their order in the cosmos. Aristotle refers to the passing away into its opposite quality, when he adds later in the paragraph that the transition of successive components includes the loss of a single attribute. For example, in fire, the loss of the dry into the moist will produce air. That is to say, there must be more than one factor in order to fully explain more basic transformations, because changes involving just one ingredient are essentially cosmetic.